Pandora did not simply open a vessel. Perhaps she did exactly what Zeus had created her to do, not as a woman, not as a mistake, but as a trap, because the gods did not create her to be loved. They created her so humanity would willingly welcome its own punishment. In her hands, there is no sword, no poison, no visible curse, only a sealed vessel made of clay, plain, almost worthless, and yet the gods fall silent as she carries it. Because Pandora was no ordinary woman, she was the first woman of this story, shaped from earth, adorned by gods, sent as a gift. And that is exactly what made her dangerous. Most people remember Pandora as the woman who, out of curiosity, opened the box and released all suffering into the world. Disease, old age, toil, death. But that version is too convenient. It turns a divine plan into a human failure. It gives the catastrophe a face, a beautiful face. Perhaps Pandora was never the guilty one. Perhaps she was the mechanism, the most beautiful trap Zeus ever built. And if that is true, then mankind was not cursed because Pandora opened the vessel. Humanity was cursed because Zeus knew she would. Before Pandora even had a name, there was an act that violated the order of the world. Prometheus stole fire. To us, that almost sounds harmless. A spark, a flame, something that warms human beings when night comes. But in the Greek imagination, fire was never only fire. Fire was technology, craft, protection, knowledge. It was the difference between a being that freezes and a being that changes its world. With fire, humans could cook, forge, build, plan, and push back against the darkness. Prometheus did not simply give humanity warmth, he gave them a future, and that was the crime. Because Zeus did not rule only over lightning and sky, he ruled over distance, over the boundary between gods and humans. The gods possessed power, humans possessed need. That was the order. Prometheus took something from the world above and brought it down. He made humans less helpless. To Zeus, that was not an insult, it was a threat. So Prometheus was punished, chained to a rock, not hidden, not in the dark, but openly, visibly, displayed between sky and stone. Every day an eagle came and ate his liver. Every night it grew back, not so the pain could end, but so it could begin again the next morning. That was Zeus's answer to betrayal. But here, the myth becomes truly cruel. Prometheus had stolen. Prometheus had deceived Zeus. Prometheus had brought the fire, and yet Zeus did not punish only him. He punished everyone, and this punishment did not come as lightning, not as war, not as a monster. It came as a gift. Zeus ordered Hephaestus, the divine smith, to create something new. Not a chain, not a weapon, not a cage, a human being. From earth and water, Hephaestus shaped a figure that breathed, saw, and walked. Pandora. But she was not simply born, she was assembled. Athena gave her skill, Aphrodite gave her beauty and desire, Hermes gave her speech, charm, and a mind that tests boundaries. The Graces adorned her. The Hours dressed her body as if preparing an offering for a temple. Every god gave something. That is why she was called Pandora, the all-gifted. But this name is a fracture, because a gift is only innocent when the giver wants nothing in return. Pandora was not created because the gods wanted to bless humanity. She was created because Zeus had understood something. Lightning strikes you. A gift, you open yourself. Violence can create resistance. Beauty lowers the guard. Pandora was not a reward. She was a punishment no one was supposed to recognize as punishment. Evil did not come as an ugly face. It came adorned. It came with a voice. It came in a form people wanted to welcome. And then Zeus did not send her just anywhere. He sent her to the man most likely to fail. Pandora came to Epimetheus, the brother of Prometheus. Even the names reveal the trap. Prometheus means the one who thinks before. Epimetheus means the one who thinks after. One sees the consequences before they happen. The other understands them only when it is too late. Prometheus had warned his brother, never accept a gift from Zeus. Not an animal, not a tool, not a woman, nothing, because Zeus does not give without intention. But when Pandora arrived, Epimetheus was not standing before a theory, he was standing before her. And this is where the myth becomes disturbingly human. Warnings seem strong as long as temptation has not entered the room. Epimetheus knew what Prometheus had said, but knowledge does not always protect against desire. He took Pandora in, and with her came the vessel, not the famous box. That was a later change. In the older myth, it was a pithos, a large clay storage jar, something that could stand inside a house. Something ordinary, something you passed every day, and that is exactly what makes it worse. The curse did not stand far away in a temple. It stood inside the house, silent, sealed, present. You did not have to believe in it. You only had to live with it. Pandora came with one rule. The vessel must not be opened, nothing more. No guardian, no seal of fire, no divine voice warning her every morning. Only a prohibition, and prohibitions have a strange power. They create a room inside the mind. A sealed vessel is never just an object. It becomes a question. Why am I not allowed to open it? What is inside? Why give me something and forbid me to know it? This is where the usual story becomes too simple. Pandora's curiosity may not have been a weakness. Perhaps it was part of the design. Hermes had not only given her speech, he had given her cunning, persuasion, a restless movement of the mind. So Zeus had a woman created who could think, question, feel, and doubt. Then he placed a forbidden vessel near her, and then he pretended obedience was the plan. But that is not a contradiction, that is the construction. The prohibition was not meant to protect Pandora, it was meant to work inside her, day after day, until a vessel became an open loop, until curiosity became pressure, until pressure became movement. The prohibition was not the safeguard, it was the trigger. Do not imagine a grand ritual. No music, no priests, no sacrificial flame, only a house, clay floor, dust, half darkness. Pandora stands before the vessel, perhaps alone for the first time. The world is still young. Humans know toil, but not yet all suffering. They know hunger perhaps as lack, but not yet as fate. They know death perhaps as a boundary, but not yet the whole chain of sickness, age, fear, and loss. Then Pandora touches the lid. For a moment, nothing changes. That is the worst moment. The moment when a decision has already been made, but its consequences are still invisible. Then the vessel opens, not wide, only enough. And something escapes, not as an animal, not as a demon, not as a shape with a name, but as reality. Disease enters bodies, age settles onto faces, toil lays itself onto hands, envy finds the eyes, conflict finds the tongue, fear finds the night, death finds every house. Pandora slams the lid shut, but too late. Everything is outside, everything, except one thing. Elpis, hope. It remains inside the vessel, and here many tell the story as comfort. Suffering is outside, yes, but hope remains, a small bright flame in the dark. But perhaps that is the most dangerous interpretation of all, because what if hope was not the antidote? What if hope belonged to the punishment? Hope sounds innocent. It sounds like rescue, like morning, like light. But hope does not end suffering. It lengthens the road through suffering. It whispers that tomorrow might be different. It keeps the body standing when it is already ready to collapse. It makes humans wait, endure, hold on. One more day, one more winter, one more loss. Perhaps Zeus's punishment was not only that humans had to suffer, perhaps his punishment was that they could not stop believing in rescue. Then hope is not the light inside the vessel. Then hope is the chain, and suddenly the whole myth changes. Pandora is not the woman who brought suffering and accidentally saved hope. She is the woman through whom Zeus gave humanity both the wound and the reason to keep carrying it. Thousands of years later, this same suspicion returns. The idea that hope does not always heal, that sometimes it binds, that it chains people to a better tomorrow while they continue suffering today. And that is exactly why the myth does not feel old. It feels precise, because every human knows this vessel, not as a Greek story, but as a feeling. The message you open, even though you sense it will hurt. The truth you want to know, even though it may change everything. The diagnosis you do not want to read. The secret that remains harmless only as long as it stays sealed. Pandora's vessel stands wherever knowledge can create a before and an after, and still, we reach for it, not because we are foolish, but because humans want to know, even when knowledge destroys. The world remembers Pandora as the cause, as the mistake, as the warning, as the woman who disobeyed. But that memory is convenient, because if Pandora is guilty, then Zeus was only the judge. If Pandora is guilty, then the catastrophe was a moment of human weakness. If Pandora is guilty, then no one has to ask who created her, who adorned her, who sent her, who gave her the vessel, who spoke the prohibition, who chose the recipient. That is the dark fracture at the center of the myth. Pandora is not dangerous because she is weak. She is dangerous because she functions perfectly. She is accepted. She is desired. She lives where humans feel safe. She carries the vessel. She opens it. And afterward, they call it curiosity. Perhaps that is the real trap. Not the vessel, not the lid, but the story that was told afterward. A story in which humanity blames its suffering on a woman instead of the God who ordered her creation. Pandora was not the flaw in the plan. Pandora was the plan. Pandora still works because her myth is not really about a box. It is about the fear of knowledge, the fear that some truths do not set us free, the fear that a single moment can change a world forever. We no longer live in the world of Hesiod. We no longer fear Zeus in the same way. But we know Pandora's vessel. It lies in sealed files, in family secrets, in messages that light up at night, in questions where you can feel that the answer may divide your life into before and after. And perhaps that is why this myth remains. Not because Pandora feels foreign to us, but because we understand her. We know what it is like to stand before something sealed. We know how a prohibition grows louder inside the mind. We know that some things can destroy as soon as they are spoken, and still we want to know. Perhaps the Greeks feared Pandora not only because she brought suffering. Perhaps they feared her because she showed that humanity cannot even be protected from what it should never open. Perhaps Pandora was never the guilty one. Perhaps she was the final link in a plan that began when Prometheus gave fire to humanity. Zeus did not take the fire back. That would have been too simple. He did something cleverer. He let them keep progress and gave them everything that would follow progress. Fear, loss, disease, mortality, and hope. Perhaps that is why Pandora's vessel never disappeared. Perhaps it still stands wherever human beings believe a truth must be opened, simply because it is sealed. And every time we want to know something, even though part of us is already stepping back, the same movement repeats itself. A hand, a lid, a breath. The question is not why Pandora opened the vessel. The question is whether Zeus ever doubted that she would. Sometimes the cruelest gift is not suffering, but the hope that it will end. Which myth should be opened next?